This is the Pastor's Coach with award-winning, best-selling author, Dr. Dave Williams. Encouragement and guidance for today's pastor. And now, here's Dave.
On the previous edition of the Pastor's Coach, we talked about how antagonism is disheartening and bogging down many pastors across the world, and some are even giving up. It's too hard on their marriages and their families. But you can identify and deal with an antagonist being used of Satan to hinder the work of God, the work that God has envisioned and planned for you. Now, the devil's a dream stealer, and one of his favorite tactics is to find a useful idiot who doesn't even realize he's being used by the evil one. And that useful idiot becomes an antagonist to the pastor. Well, how do you identify infected, contagious antagonists in the church? Well, there may be one or more indicators that someone is trying to infect you with a devilish microbial of antagonism. 1, innuendos. 2, questioning your wisdom and the wisdom of others constantly. 3, subtle slander and sarcasm. 4, sometimes an antagonist will be nervous and have agitation, legs shaking under the table. 5, exaggerations and outright falsehoods. 6, frustration, arrogance, and nitpicking. 7, false concern about areas outside his or her authority. 8, he or she may claim to be a change agent to justify their antagonism toward authority. 9, claiming a lot of people are upset and going to start a revolution or a split, or they're going to quit tithing, or saying things like, I've had some authority, check this out, and I've talked with several people. Nonsense. 10, accusing those who they oppose as having loose theology or bad doctrine. By the way, John Wesley, Charles Finney, Smith Wigglesworth, and D.L. Moody were all accused of this. If a rebellious-hearted antagonist cannot stop a message, he'll try to neutralize the messenger every time. 11, minimizing and marginalizing the leadership currently in place. And 12, claiming concern for the church and for you, often using flattery or gifts to soften you up to receive their bacteria-soaked stinger of antagonism. Here's another one. 13, flattering key people with insincere compliments to gain their support. 14, secretly plotting with others who are like-minded or offended, the way Absalom did to David and the way the Pharisees did to Jesus. Listen to what they did to Jesus. The chief priests, this is Matthew 26, 3 and 4. The chief priests and the elders of the people gathered in the palace of the high priest, whose name was Caiaphas, and plotted together in order to arrest Jesus by stealth and kill him. Sometimes antagonists are dealing with something they don't understand. Judas Iscariot, for example, probably didn't understand or even realize what he was doing until it was too late. That's why perhaps Jesus instructed us to pray for our enemies. They really don't know what they're doing and the subsequent consequences they're going to face as a result. Satan has always been clever, but never wise. He somehow convinced 1/3 of God's angelic staff to rebel. But all his tactics are the same today. The thief comes only in order to steal, kill, and destroy. Jesus came to give you life, and that you might have life in abundance. So my suggestions to you is keep your hands clean spiritually. Stay washed up daily, both spiritually, emotionally, and let me add mentally too. And test the spirits, whether they be of God. Sometimes a person can say something to you that seems right, but test the spirit behind it. My dear friends, John said, don't believe everything you hear. Carefully weigh and examine what people tell you. Not everyone who talks about God comes from God. There are a lot of lying preachers loose in the world, St. John said. And if you're approached by a carrier, an antagonist, that wants to speak against leadership, have your immune system engaged. Now I suggest this: when somebody comes to you and they start sharing gossip or rebellion, ask, why are you telling me this? Ask, where did you get this information? And then say, have you gone directly to the person? Most of the time they say, oh, no, he would never see me or would never accept it. Number 4, have you checked out your facts? And number 5, do you mind if I quote you on this? Pretty soon, people are going to stop approaching you. Leviticus 19:16, do not spread slanderous gossip among your people. Do not stand idly by when your neighbor's life is threatened. I am the Lord. Now I encourage you to read the book Antagonists in the Church, How to Identify and Deal with Destructive Conflict by Kenneth Houck, and my book, The Spirit of Antagonism. And get the book Get Over It by Kate McVeigh. It identifies precisely what offenses can do in a person's life when they are unresolved and how Satan's strategy is implemented through offenses. And remember this: trying to sincerely share your heart or speak into the life of an antagonist is fruitless. He will misread your intentions, twist your words, reframe events, and his intimidations will increase in intensity. So you must disassociate yourself with the antagonist while standing your ground to defend the realm of authority you possess from God. Run to Jesus, sit at His feet, don't say anything until He clearly lays it on your heart, and practice warfare praying. Watch God move on your behalf then. And be grateful for the opportunity you've had to grow by facing these antagonists. My precious fellow minister, you can identify and deal with the spiritual bacteria every pastor faces from time to time, antagonism. Be comforted in knowing that the New Testament believers face the same situations you face, and you're going over, not under. God has called you to a glorious ministry of imparting not religion, but real life in Jesus Christ to countless souls. Spiritual bacteria and infections must be stopped. Use God's Word as the antidote, and God's Spirit will be your strength. He's given you discernment, the divine defense against deception, and His yoke is easy and His burden light. Now may God keep you and your church healthy in every way. I'm Dave Williams, author of The Spirit of Antagonism. Thanks for joining me today for the Pastor's Coach.
For more pastoral and leadership resources, visit us at davewilliams.com. We look forward to hearing from you, and be sure to join us for the next Pastor's Coach Update.